Okay, thank you. Our next item on our agenda is House Bill 296. Representative Toohil, could you, I'd like to call on Tom Miller to give us a brief description of the bill.
House Bill 296 would establish the adoption and foster care tax credit.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We are joined today by Representative Toohil. Representative Toohil, would you like to describe your bill?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Acting Chair Daley. I'm extremely elated to be here this morning. This is an issue that's very close to my heart, and we have 39 co-sponsors, which shows that it is an issue that touches the hearts of our colleagues. This bill, House Bill 296, establishes an adoption tax credit and also a foster care tax credit for eligible foster parents. This would be $500 tax credit per child in the tax year the foster child first qualifies as a dependent on the parent's federal tax return. So that's for the foster child. And then $1,000 tax credit for an adopted child in the same year, the same tax year that the parent qualifies for the federal adoption tax credit. So this bill, it incentivizes permanency. There are a myriad of reasons why kinship and foster families will not adopt. There are a whole other host of reasons why people refuse to foster and become foster parents in the first place. So this bill incentivizes permanency. This bill will reward families in a small amount, families that take the step to foster, and by allowing them a small tax credit that may result in bringing a child for their first ever trip to the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia to go to the zoo for the first time ever in their life, or perhaps over the state line to see the beach for the first time in their life. It may pay for a couple of months of piano lessons, or a math tutor for a child, or just the extra money in their pockets that will help put more food on the table for the number of children that these families take in. Normally, foster families, there are few foster families available and fewer adoptive families, and they max out. So when we do find families that will take children in, they max out very quickly. They reach the threshold of 5 children. So this bill, it will only help some of these families because there's going to still be children that will never be adopted. These children will exit foster care into homelessness. They will never live with a family, and they will live in residential care or exit to a shelter setting. And right now, as you all know, the opioid crisis is growing. So there's less families and there's more children that are going into foster care. So this is a small incentive because people do not want to adopt because they believe that it is too expensive, and the fees to adopt are expensive. They could be $2,500 and more. And it's too much risk and heartbreak for people to foster sometimes. So I would ask for an affirmative vote. And if there's any questions, also Jeremy Kyle was here. I don't know where he went.
Thank you, Representative Toohil. Do we have any questions for Representative Ryan?
I applaud you for doing this. It's amazing how when you can only be here for a couple of years, you can strike at the raw nerves of different emotional things that happen in people's lives, and I know your situation because you know my wife well. Let me echo the sentiments of the maker of the bill and ask everyone to approve this bill. My wife and I tried to adopt, and it was approved, and in November 2004, I was recalled to active duty, and then because I was recalled to active duty and sent to a combat zone, I aged out, and we were not able to do that. Fortunately, we were fortunate enough to do well. We had 4 children. We wanted to have more, and through adoption. And don't look at me. I thought I could get through this easily. But we came back, and we found out that the baby whose picture we saw, we never got. And we were $10,000 into it, and that was a pittance. I would have given everything I have to get this little girl. And I can tell you it's the greatest gift you can give. This is a minor token of the esteem that we should have for people who are willing to do that. But more importantly, that there's children out there that are willing to adopt us parents so that we can give them the home that they need.
Thank you, Representative. I do want to acknowledge Chair Daly, who stepped up today, and she does have a question. So, Chair Daly.
It's not actually a question, it's more of a comment. I just wanted to make the members aware that the Department of Revenue is opposed to this bill because of the cost. They'd like to see this kind of thing considered within the context of the budget. But I also would like to say the Department of Human Services, while opposed to the cost, understands and appreciates the efforts to increase participation in the adoption and foster care programs. And so my understanding is that Chairman Wheatley is not opposed to this bill, and so we can urge Democratic members to vote for the bill. Thank you for your work on this. I know it is a really personal thing for you also,
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Daly. Any other questions? Representative Rabb?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's normally at this time when I talk about how do we pay for these things as the fiscal conservative that I am, much like my colleague from Lebanon County. But I do want to say in this instance that we have to take a broader view here. When we talk about the externalities of all the things that put people into these situations to begin with, I think this is a good investment. There's nothing more important than family and being brought into loving homes. That's the best investment we could possibly make ever. And so I'm hoping that this program can, over time, reduce the cost we pay on the back end. 90% of our state budget goes towards human services, education, and locking people up. And $10 million is a lot of money to a lot of people, and we shouldn't just kind of blow it off, but in the big scheme of things, it's quite small. And so my hope is that this program will, over time, pay for itself and then some because of all the people who are helped, all the children, all the parents who have been adopted, can make an impact much broader than their own homes, their own families, even their own communities, because fewer young people will be in the system, and we all know who bears the burden of helping those children who have not found a home and the expense associated with that. And those externalities are extraordinarily expensive. So despite my usual fiscal conservatism, and as a father and as someone who believes that this is just a really good investment, I strongly support your bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mr.
Representative.
Chairman.
Any other questions? Representative Rabb, do you have a motion for this bill?
Yes, I'd like to move that we...
Motion, do we have a second? Representative Mako, second. Are there any negative votes on the bill? Seeing or hearing no negative votes, bill passes. Thank you,
Thank you.
Representative.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And the Department of Revenue concerns and the DHS concerns, I think that they, as departments, have to be against a bill like this, but they also would acknowledge that there is a dollar return. So if you're going to spend a dollar in investing in a child's stability and permanency, you're going to have savings on the back end when that child is not touched by the opioid crisis or homelessness, and that child is able to become a productive citizen. That increases our tax base as well. So thank you so much. I'm really touched by all of you. Thank you very much for your vote.